everyone, and happy St. Patrick's Day. I'm Kimberly Guilfoyle, along with Juan Williams, Eric Bowling, Dana Perino, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five. President Trump had his first face-to-face meeting with German Chancellor Angela Merkel today. The relationship had been a bit strained since the campaign when Mr. Trump accused the Chancellor of ruining Germany with the influx of refugees. At a joint press conference this afternoon, the president defended his agenda to protect the U.S. from radical Islamic terror.
Our two countries must continue to work together to protect our people from radical Islamic terrorism and to defeat ISIS. We also recognize that immigration security is national security. We must protect our citizens from those who seek to spread terrorism, extremism, and violence inside our borders. Immigration is a privilege, not a right. And the safety of our citizens must always come first, without question.
Merkel defended her commitment to helping refugees despite the threat posed to her country.
We have to protect our external borders because, and there we have to work on the basis of mutual interest with our neighbors. Migration, immigration, integration has to be worked on. Obviously, traffickers have to be stopped, but this has to be done while looking at the refugees as well, giving them opportunities to shape their own lives where they are, help countries who right now are not in an ability to do so, sometimes because they have civil war. I think that's the right way of going about it.
Okay, well, a lot of discussion, people saying, how did this go today, Dana, between the president and Angela Merkel, saying perhaps it was a little bit strained over these issues of
it could have been, but I do think it could have been more strained. I mean, there's some talk that he ignored her request for a handshake. I'd like to believe that he just didn't hear the request and that was just an awkward moment. But I don't think anyone will dwell on it, and I think this continues the introduction of several of world leaders that come to the White House to meet the president. This is actually important for her back home. So one of the things I like to do when you think about a joint session like this is not what they were trying to accomplish together, which I think today was just establishing a personal relationship because they will have to work together on several issues. But if you think about their domestic audience, in particular her, so she is facing a pretty tough re-election. She's been in office for a long time. There's interest in a guy named Schultz, who is running a very anti-Trump campaign. Now, he's not bound by any of the restrictions of office as she is. So she's like, I have to be the leader of this country. And I think that this visit showed back home for her domestic audience that she is the mature adult, the right politician to be able to have a relationship with the United States and to figure out a way to keep Germany in the forefront of the EU. So domestically for her, I think it was good, and for the president, just fine.
Just fine. Okay, so Eric, what did you make of the interaction between the two, and do you think any progress made?
I don't know if there's any progress made. I don't think it was any pushback at all. I think I agree with Dana. It was a very matter-of-fact, very kind of formal feeling type of meeting. I think the two themes that really defined Donald Trump's candidacy and presidency, anti-globalism and pro-economic nationalism, were front and center. If you listen to not only the comments President Trump made, but also the answers to some of the questions, he hit on two big things. For me, I heard something very important when he was talking about trade. He said he's a fair trader and a free trader. But right before that, he said something that really caught my attention. He said reciprocal trade policies. And the point I'm trying to pull out here is the reciprocal part. If you go into some of these other countries, they talk China, Brazil, Cuba, European Union, we pay massive amounts of money to put our products into those countries. They don't have that same onerous burden to put their products into ours. So the reciprocal word he threw in there means it's a heads up. And Dana and I have talked about this for a while, about how they're going to administer a border tax to pay for some of these things. That may be the first shot across the bow of these countries saying, hey, if you're charging us, China, 3.4%, you may get charged that same 3.4% to bring your stuff back in here. Brazil, 8.3%. The other one, very quickly, that's trade. Also security. You know, we talk about NATO. The U.S., the requirement, the alleged requirement under NATO is that 2% of your GDP as a NATO country you're supposed to spend on defense. Right. Germany happens to spend only about 1.2% of their GDP on defense, so they're going to need to get their funding of NATO up. The United States does 3%. France, Germany, and Turkey are below the 2%. Italy, Belgium, Spain, Hungary, and a couple others are below 1%. So in order for security, the world, if they want us to continue to play by the NATO rules, needs to step up.
And that's something he talked about during his campaign. I get Greg and Juan in now, but the president fielded a question from a German reporter about his America First agenda and pushed back against a perception in Europe that he is pursuing isolationist policies.
I don't believe in an isolationist policy, but I also believe a policy of trade should be a fair policy. And the United States has been treated very, very unfairly by many countries over the years, and that's going to stop. But I'm not an isolationist. I'm a free trader, but I'm also a fair trader. I don't know what newspaper you're reading, but I guess that would be another example of, as you say, fake news.
Oh, my God. Never misses a chance. Never misses a chance. Okay, Greg, what do you make of this?
Well, I have 2 points to raise. Let's talk about the trade thing. Germany makes amazing cars. Let's be honest, some of the greatest cars in the world. Guess where they make a lot of them?
Here.
Here. They make 400,000 of them in South Carolina, which is amazing.
I do like a nice Mercedes.
Yes, and the trade deficit is deceptive. Reciprocity is hard when you have a population of 80 million people, and America is 4 times larger with 320 million. Our GDP is 17 trillion. Their GDP is 3.73 trillion. Thank you, Wikipedia. You're welcome, Greg. So the key distinction here when you're talking about deficits is you've got to look at size and why the deficit really isn't as important as they make it out to be. And free trade does matter. Germany helps our country. There's 750,000 American jobs because of German companies in the United States. Now on to the stuff about...
Can I just address that before you go on to the question? But if you threaten to say to China, you're charging us 3.4%, we're going to charge you 3.4%, maybe you get them to lower it. Maybe you get it down to the global average of 2.5%, and you save American corporations putting products into China a boatload of money.
But Eric, I was looking at Germany on Wikipedia, not on China.
Well, Germany.
Look,
I want to talk about the migration thing. We keep positioning this argument as you're either pro or anti-refugee, and it's not fair because we are pro-refugee. We're just pro-refugee wisely. You know, Trump looks at Germany and says, we can't do all that. It's like when you look at a friend of yours who gets married and gains a lot of weight. Oh, wow, he really let himself go. We're not going to let ourselves go. We as a country cannot let ourselves go. We watched in the migrant process, we watched Germany essentially let itself go, and it's going to take a long time for that to change. So I think that Angela, I'm still not sure, lecturing or talking about refugees, to us is like, you know, Hillary lecturing you about winning, or her husband lecturing you about keeping his pants up. This is not, it's not her place to tell us because they're dealing with a huge problem.
Low refugee diet?
Yes.
Exactly. Okay,
well, actually, we're Slim Jim compared to Germany.
Oh, definitely.
We don't let them. I mean, they've let millions in, so for their smaller population, proportionately, they have done a great deal, and they see it as a mercy mission. They do not see it.
But why do they do that? Why?
There are some who do.
Because they feel guilty about the past.
Well, that's arguable.
So, yeah.
That's possible. It's also possible that they see this in a way that I think we need to shift, which is that they're bringing younger people in who are willing and able to stir their economic engine.
Or just stir literally pots.
No, I don't think so.
Because they're looking for young people to take care of older people.
Well, that's right. If you look at it in terms of Social Security, I thought you were saying stir trouble, but I don't.
No, I mean like actually cook.
Okay, all right. And I think it's the similar thing in response to what Eric was saying. You got to worry that the other side, Eric, punches back and says, "Oh, you guys want to trade war? We're cool, glad to." So in terms of what?
Trade war with us.
Oh, that's right. Oh, nobody. We're so powerful. But this is what Greg was talking about. If you look at BMW, look at Siemens. Guess what? Those are companies that employ Americans and export overseas from the United States. There's benefit there. I think the key thing about this meeting...
A German car built in America exported to Germany isn't charged the import.
I'm telling you, it's exported all over the world, and it's a benefit because we get the jobs. And I thought this was the jobs president. So I think he needs to think through. It's not just a one-way street. But the reason I thought this meeting was so interesting is that, you know, you listen to Trump, and it's all about this kind of populist, nationalist, the kind of things we've been hearing about. And this week you had, in the Dutch election, Geert Wilder, who is, you know, the Trump of the Netherlands, lose. And then you have, you know, I guess in France, Marine Le Pen is coming up. But right now, the message that's being sent is that populist energy seems to be fading. And by the way, in terms of Angela Merkel herself, it seems like her chances of re-election, picking up on what Dana was talking about, are growing.
Have you seen the cover of The Economist?
No.
The cover of The Economist has the exact opposite thesis that globalism is on its way down,
right,
and economic nationalism around
that's
the world
clear.
is on its way. And they're using hot air balloons, lifting all these countries that are deciding to pull back on these trade agreements and focus solely within their own border.
Well, clearly Germany is not pulling back on trade agreements. In fact, the Germans, right before this meeting with Donald Trump, they were talking to the Chinese about building new relationships to replace the U.S.
You use one example.
I'm just citing.
And then you claim Marine Le Pen is on her way down. We don't know yet.
Well, there's also
No, we
another
don't. But I
candidate
know
on the
for a
rise
fact what happened to
in
Gert
Denmark.
Wilders.
That's a
Correct.
populist
We
as
would
well.
agree with that.
Okay, Dana.
Well, I just think that one of the things where Merkel and Trump could possibly agree on the refugee issue is the key to this is actually solving the refugee problem at its source. And President Trump has said that he'd like to see something about some safe zones in Syria or something. And all of those countries Eric mentioned that are part of NATO, everybody has a national interest in helping solve this problem because they're exporting terror from that region. They're not only exporting terror, but they're leaving many people desperate and hopeless. So people who have big hearts, they want to bring them into their countries because they care, but then there's a security risk. And the solution to it is to solve it at its source. And somebody like Merkel and Trump together as a partnership leading NATO in May at their meeting could actually be very helpful.
Yeah, it would be a very strong alliance, and perhaps this was the first step towards that because they really needed to meet in person.
So let me just quickly add on to that I think I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall to hear them talk about Vladimir Putin, because I think Merkel has a view of Putin and she has experience with Putin, especially in terms of the Ukraine, the sanctions and the like, very different from Donald Trump.
Well, we happen to be able to get in Russia in the A block. There we go. All right, well, the president gave a morbid diagnosis for Obamacare today. It's dead. Hear that coming up. And a programming note, it's your lucky day on this St. Patrick's Day, a double dose of us. We're going to be back here at 8 p.m. Eastern for another live edition of The Five. Don't miss it. Back in a moment.
That's something. The president met earlier with a group of conservative lawmakers to rally more support for the GOP's antidote to Obamacare.
I want everyone to know I'm 100% behind this. I want everybody to know that the press has not been speaking properly about how great this is going to be. Stake this. This is going to be great. I also want people to know that Obamacare is dead. It's a dead health care plan. It's not even a health care plan, frankly. It's a disaster. Obamacare's dead. Nothing to do with these people, nothing to do with me. It's on respirator, and it's just about ready to implode.
A vote on the legislation is expected in the House next Thursday. At his news conference earlier, Mr. Trump expressed confidence the bill will pass.
It's going to be passed, I believe, I think, substantially and pretty quickly. I think we have a very unified Republican Party. There's a great unification. Health care is a very, very difficult subject. It's a very complex subject, and it's a subject that, you know, goes both ways. You do something for one side and the other side doesn't like it. But it's really something that's come together very well, and I think it's going to be very, very popular, extremely popular.
So, Greg, the president is clearly putting his prestige now on the line. He has these members, 13 members in the Oval Office. He says he's convinced them. He says he's going to do more in terms of work requirements, blocking, Medicaid is block grants instead of caps. Is this going to be a winning? Is this the winning ticket?
This is. We were talking about this with a friend. He loves this sort of thing. He's a natural salesman. He likes to build stuff, hence the wall. He likes to sell stuff, hence the bill. Scott Adams calls him the master persuader. So the harder it is to sell something, the more he loves selling it. And he's got an interesting opposition, and that is everywhere you go, no matter what, it's always about killing grandma, killing the kids. It's like everything Republicans do, you end up killing somebody. And that argument, you're finding out, is losing more and more power and weight. You know, if Trump's health bill made all health care free, you know, the media would say, well, what about my pets? What about my spa treatments? I want massages. So you can't win. So I think he's aware of that, and I think he relishes going in and persuading, and it sounds like he's doing it.
Well, so Greg says he can't win. Do you believe that?
No,
Well,
I think he said that he can win.
That's not
No,
what
I said he can win. I was talking about against the left. You
Well,
can't win.
No, meaning that you can't. Meaning that the left is never. Even if Trump were to say, "Okay, here's universal health care," that the left would still say, "But wait, I want more."
No,
That's
but
what he was
the
saying.
problem
Spa
here.
treatments, et
So the
cetera.
reason I misunderstood the professor is that in fact Republicans are the ones that he's persuading.
But I think that he is actually doing it. Today was the best day for this bill in its short week-long history, partly because they were able to get the bill through the third committee with only 3 defections from the Republicans. That's actually pretty good. He's had a lot of meetings this week. They don't have a lot of air cover from the outside, but I think that instead of like Obamacare that dragged out for months, they are pushing this through very quickly. And I think that when he said today, I'm 100% behind this bill, that the members of Congress know that President Trump and Ryan are in lockstep on this. And I bet that next Thursday it is going to pass because he decided to put his shoulder behind it and to stand with Ryan. Whether you like the bill or not, I still think it will pass next Thursday.
Yeah.
So Eric, do you agree that it'll pass next Thursday?
I hope not. I really hope not. I'm not sure. Dana's 100% right when he said I'm 100% behind this bill. He just renamed it from Ryan Care, which I've been calling it for a while, to Trump Care. Well, here are the numbers.
Better brand
there are
building.
237 House members who are Republican. You need 218 to pass. You need 19. That means you have a 19 wiggle room. There's 29 members of the Freedom Caucus who vote as a group. These guys, if you have the majority of the Freedom Caucus on board, but I assume
They want to get to yes. I think they want to support the president.
Well, immediately when I heard that, my jaw dropped. I was listening to this press conference. I'm like, did he just say I'm 100% behind this? It will pass? I started making calls.
I liked
it. Freedom Caucus.
From a political standpoint, it's impressive.
They weren't in that meeting, though. The Freedom Caucus, most of the Freedom Caucus members weren't in that meeting. So I'm like, what don't I know? And apparently there's a lot I don't know.
They're probably being reached out to by others, like by Pence, for example.
Well, they could be, but this was
they're doing
Republican
some stuff
Study
behind the
Committee
scenes.
folks who were in that meeting. And again, he's trying to just to fix it. Remember, Paul Ryan was opposed to any changes, but this week now he says he's changes.
Freedom Caucus. You need it's a proxy.
He needs it back. Okay, so this week, Kimberly, Fox News polling indicated 54% of Americans disapprove of the Republican plan. But President Trump, who initially didn't seem like he was totally behind it, now, as Eric says it's my plan, I'm with it, and it's going to pass.
Rasmussen poll says 48% of Americans agree with the president that Obamacare is collapsing. So what he's saying is the United States needs to act decisively to protect Americans and give them quality health care. I think this was a turning point today. I agree with Dana that he put some muscle behind it. He put the magic of the Trump branding and said, look, I'm going to own this. It's not just Ryan Care. This is something I support. And he's showing that, look, I've got skin in the game. I'm going to make sure that it gets through. So I believe him. I take him at his word that he's going to go out there and sell it, that he's going to push it, and even if they have to go one by one. But he also said something important, which is that they made some changes. So perhaps there's been some accommodations that are going to be pivotal, and that's going to be able to get it
just point
through.
one thing out. The only way to get the premiums down, the only way is to offer competition against state lines. And the only way to get that
Across
through
state lines.
is 60 votes in the Senate.
Right.
How in the
That-
world are you going to get 60 votes in the Senate?
That's the point. And also, he says Obamacare is dead, and I'm just thinking to myself, wait a second, they just indicated 12.2 million people enrolled. Well, we'll see what happens.
The barrier reef is dead, you know.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, tragedy.
Maybe Obamacare sank
Died at
down.
25 million. Had a long run.
Oh.
Years old.
Yeah, died at 25
You
million
think
years.
we could resuscitate it?
Well, I wouldn't do mouth to mouth.
Oh, okay. Stay right there. Fast to 7. Up next.
Welcome back. Time for the fastest 7 minutes on. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait for that. The fastest 6 minutes on television. 3 entertaining stories, 7 energetic minutes, 1 enthusiastic host. By the way, the floor director looked at me like, really? You've done this how many times? First up, late night hosts enjoying a ratings bonanza since Donald Trump won the presidency. In fact, Stephen Colbert may have saved his show by upping the Trump shtick on The Late Show. Jimmy Kimmel also rating well by taking shots at the president.
Not only does Donald Trump want to put a stop to federal funding for public broadcasting, he's already started cleaning house at PBS.
I say you're fired.
What?
You're a quitter. And Star Jones kicked your ass, whether you like it or not.
I guess we have to find a new place to live.
That's too bad, but that's the way it goes.
All right, Greg. Look, it's working for them.
I think it's right. You know, that bird is a mooch. It doesn't need government assistance. It's making more money than all of us. And by the way, if you hate government, you hate Trump, why are you taking money from it? By the way, turducken it.
Turducken?
Yeah, turducken the big birds.
Cook it.
A lot of meat on there.
Dana, you want to talk about the funding, or you want to talk about the late night host having fun?
Well, I do think like all media is up, right? So all across the board, and everybody is highly energized. Whether you love him or hate him, then you want to read about it, you want to watch it, you can't stop talking about it. It never ends.
Don?
Well, those guys fired me. So I don't have a whole lot of love. But I will say, so I used to be a host, and I used to go out and have to raise money for him. And in the big cities, there's no problem. There is no problem for NPR, Big Bird, who now works for HBO and all that. But no, they don't have a problem. I think they could be self-sufficient. The problem is, intriguingly, when you get out into the small areas, rural areas, don't have big city newspapers, don't have radio stations. They sometimes don't have cable.
You mean the base?
Oh, you mean Trump world.
But in fact, there was a piece today talking about what we were discussing yesterday in Appalachia, the Delta. He's cutting all those commissions.
Great Lakes.
Yeah, I mean, I like humor, right? I mean, I sit across from it every day here and seems to enthrall me. But I like to...
Called my face, Kimberly.
Yes, it's quite funny. I like to watch Jimmy Kimmel. He's my favorite, actually. So I think it's fun, and, it's done in a nice way. Some of the stuff I've seen isn't so appropriate, which I've commented on before.
Stay right there, because remember the clip BBC ran of the Skype interview between a newscaster in England and some guy in his home office, where the kids sneak into the room behind him. A couple of comedians from New Zealand had some fun with a parody of that, asking, how would things go down if it were a mom in that same situation?
One of your children's just walked in, but I mean, shifting sands in the region, do you think relations with the North may change?
It's unclear at the moment what effect former President Gun Hay's impeachment will have on the territories. Unfortunately, discontent in South Korea is not only related to President Gun Hay's administration.
Sorry, you do look rather busy there. We can reschedule
President Gun Hay is very likely to face jail time too.
Okay.
I would argue, in an attempt to make an example of her.
Right, so what does this all mean for the future of South Korea?
So the future of South Korea really hangs in the balance.
Oh my God, is that a bomb?
And it will be interesting to see.
All right, Katie, so she's multitasking.
Oh, my God, do I do that or what? That is my life, like, every day. I don't even know. Yeah, caught on fire a couple times, but it worked out. So you've seen this type of thing. It actually happens, and you're just, like, kind of freaking out, trying to make sure to get everything done at once. It usually happens to me when I'm trying to do radio, but you work it out. And there was a YouTube video the other day of a man doing that with his kids coming in and the nanny freaking out, trying to pull him out of the room.
Right, and your thoughts on this one? Do they own us in this respect?
You just got to give up sometimes. That's terrific. I mean, not only is it terrific, but, I think every woman in the world, apparently, not just Kimberly in the U.S., but I think every woman in the world said, yeah, we deal with it. We make it happen. God bless her.
I like the bomb diffuse.
She had the bomb diffuse. She had the dinner. She steamed the shirt. She didn't take the dog out, though.
Well, and she went to work. She didn't stay home. She was like, I can do it all. You can bring home the bacon fried up in the pan. And I do remember when I first saw that video, you make a split-second decision. It's live television. He wants to do a good job. He decided not to pick up the kid. If he would have picked up the kid, it would have been just as much of a sensation.
Yeah.
I don't agree with anybody here. I thought it was atrocious because it's sexist. They're saying that moms are better than dads at being moms. Why can't dads be moms? We are living in a gender-free society that was heteronormative. It's an attack on people who prefer not to be seen as a mom or a dad. And women can't do everything. I am sorry.
Okay,
Oh, my
stay
goodness.
right there to the fellas now. Are you all good dancers, guys? Do you have the moves, or are you dad dancers? Greg, Juan, and I got the moves like Jagger. Prince William? Well, what do you think? Watch. Hey, moves like Jagger.
Hey, look, I think the man's having fun. Let him be. But I just, to me, I don't understand why he can't just go to the club and party. I mean, I go to a club and party. I hope no one's doing that because I might look worse than my man.
Oh, we know about that one. Deja vu.
Greg, mom dance, suburban dad dancer or moves like Bruno Mars?
I think he does all right there, but no one, it just tells you no one is safe. You can't let your dork flag fly, or fry for that matter, because somebody has their phone. Was that at a wedding? Like it's like they should have clubs now where you put your phone in a basket when you walk in. You just put it in the basket, or you're not allowed in.
There are places like that. You just don't get invited.
Well, Kimberly.
Well, they take your phone. No one's allowed to bring any kind of electronic devices, and then that's that.
Wait, what are you talking about, Kimberly?
I'm talking about parties.
Which party? Which one are you talking about?
Fun party.
I know which one you're talking about.
No, you're not.
Oh,
You don't know.
I know exactly what happened there, and it was disgusting.
Oh, my
You should be
God.
ashamed of yourself.
You hiding in the tree looking in again?
The future king.
I think what Greg is saying is that Prince William will always have to dance like everybody's watching, which means you probably don't dance at all. Maybe you should just go home and be with your...
That would be the worst of all.
I'm going to throw 2 cents in here very quickly. I love it. I thought it was great.
I just have some fun.
All right, ahead. Dana's going to take us on board a ship of hope and healing. She returned this week from Africa to show us the incredible work a charity called Mercy Ships is doing there. A very special piece you won't want to miss. And guys, come on, let's bust it out as we go to break.
On Monday, my husband Peter and I took Aaron Landers of Dana Perino and Company on another trip to Africa with Mercy Ships, a global charity that provides free surgical care in developing nations. We were in the Congo in 2013 at the start of Mercy Ships' mission there, and we didn't see the results. This time, we did. Their floating hospital has been docked for 9 months in the Republic of Benin. We got to witness all kinds of miracles aboard. Check this little girl out. She's dancing for a reason, because there's great cause for celebration. 70 patients treated by Mercy Ships the week I arrived in Benin can now see again. Successful cataract surgeries cured their blindness. A celebration of sight was held in their honor, and there was much joy to go around. Little Yanis will also be celebrating soon. He just found out he's a candidate for cataract surgery at the end of the month. And this is his sweet twin sister. They are among nearly 2.5 million citizens of developing nations to receive free surgical care from the selfless staff and volunteers of Mercy Ships, an international charity founded in 1978. The Africa Mercy is the world's largest private hospital ship, filled with volunteers from over 45 nations. 35% of them are American. Dr. Mark Schreim is one of them. The assistant professor at Harvard Medical School volunteers 2 months a year on the ship. I asked him how he and others are able to juggle 2 jobs thousands of miles apart.
A lot of people who do global surgery, who do surgery in low-income countries, are doing it on their vacation time, doing it, time off that they have. Most of my career in the U.S. is a research career. It's 20% clinical, and so I'm able to juggle the research and still do the research here on the ship. People are here to treat the patients and to serve the patients and serve the people that the countries that we're in.
Dr. Schreim performed 4 surgeries alone our first morning on board. Many patients get to spend the time outside on Friday afternoons. I played Connect 4 with one of them on Deck 7. He beat me twice. Very good. But I surprised us both when I won a game. In addition to treatment on board, ship-based teams also serve in local villages, providing a wide array of services. While I was there, a party was held for children from a local orphanage. Ashley Reeves co-runs it with her husband, John. They're adopting the cute little toddler she's holding, named Kojo. Remarkably, Ashley wishes she could do more to help others in need.
I think I've resolved to realize that I can't change the world, but I can change some part of the world.
Oh, so children are ticklish everywhere.
Yes.
This is Mercy's Hope Center. It's where patients well enough to leave the ship go to fully recover, and where some pre-op patients are sent to prepare. It's run by an American retiree named Martha Rodriguez. When she retired, she wasn't ready to settle. She was ready to do. And boy, has she done a lot. Perhaps the most touching moment of my trip was a celebration for 3 women who just had their fistulas successfully repaired. Trauma during childbirth left holes between their bladder and birth canal, leaving them incontinent for years. Sadly, many fistula sufferers are ostracized for their condition in this part of the world. Nurse Amy Jones has treated many of them.
When they have this condition, what happens to them usually back home? A lot of the time they will be completely marginalised. They'll be kicked out of their villages. They will be divorced by their husbands.
Fistula patients are given a new dress after their surgery as a symbol of their restored life.
It's just really a celebration of women. It's a celebration that they've been through something terrible and they've come out the other side.
Then when I met them, they told me that they would treat me free of charge. And they said, okay, we are going to do the surgery for you tomorrow. And I was amazed. I said, huh?
There weren't many dry eyes in the room, full of song, dance, and prayer. At the end of the ceremony, the nurse in charge of the women's clinic had one request for the 3 honorees. She said, "All we ask is that when you leave here today, let God walk with you. You are not alone. God is walking with Mercy Ships to help bring hope and healing all around the world." So the Africa Mercy heads to Cameroon this summer. To find out more about the organization, you can check out opportunities for volunteering. You go to mercyships.org. I can tell you they need a lot of positions filled. Engineers, dentists, cooks, and teachers, and they absolutely need a principal right away.
Oh, I would be the greatest principal. I've always wanted to be a principal. I have a question though. If I do go, would I be able to get some elective work done on myself, like maybe a little lipo, Botox?
I don't think that they don't have that capability yet. Maybe that will come in the future. They're a little busy. You'd probably be low on the priority list.
I'd be a really good principal.
No, you'd be really bad.
Boat principal.
I have something.
You would take
do you
all the
remember
medical
last Friday when I was on,
condition.
and you asked me how they could help, how we could help? So, and I said they need a mechanic. The next morning, a 25-year-old Christian man from here in America, who's a veteran of the Iraq War, said he is a certified mechanic and he's interested, and he did a full application.
Wow, so Dana, I read your piece on FoxNews.com.
Yes.
And one of the things you pointed out was the difficulty in follow-up, because I guess people leave and there's no way for them.
Well, so the ships, the ship might come back to Benin in a few years, but in between then it is hard to, like here, if you have surgery, you go back to the doctor if you have a problem, or you might might do a research study on you, and there it's hard. There's a little boy named Emmanuel from Congo that we're going to try to find because he was saved by them on that first day. It was amazing. But Eric, you had a question.
Very quickly, Dana. So obviously in these situations you have to perform triage. You take the most sick and the most needy first. Can you give us a sense of the gap between available resources and needed resources?
In a third world country like Benin. I would say Benin felt like the most hopeful African country I'd been to in terms of they have a new president who's a businessman who is trying to improve the economy. But the healthcare, it's dire. And especially in a port city like Cotonou, like you could probably maybe see a doctor for some things, but like those women there that were getting help for the fistulas, some of them had tried to been repaired 3 times, and you have to pay each time. Oh. And it's very hard to get the money. So KG had a question.
I just want to say, I mean, when you did this last time, I know my brother regularly contributes, and just so people can go to www.mercyships.org because you see the meaningful work, and thank you, Dana.
They were great. So, and you can check out that essay as well as some other videos. We'll post them over the weekend. It was hopeful, and it was great, and the people on Mercy Ships are amazing. And thank you, Fox, for letting me do that. All right, stay right there. Facebook Friday is up next.
All right, it's Facebook Friday.
Jesus. Wow.
Got to do it fast. We got an odd couple of minutes.
High energy, huh?
One question I think we have time for. This is from Carly G. In honor of St. Patrick's Day, if you could have a drink with anyone, dead or alive, Who would it be? Pete Burns from Dead or Alive. No.
Well done.
Thanks. He's dead, though. All right, but that would count. Anyway, I'll start with you, Kimberly.
Oh, I think I would choose St. Patrick.
Oh, that was mine!
Yay!
Why St. Patrick?
Well, because it's his day. He's like the big honoree.
Oh.
So it might
He
be
probably
He's
could throw
top
down
billing.
some red wine, too.
Top billing.
You know what? He
Or
probably
some-
didn't drink.
Some Guinness.
Yeah.
He might not have been a drinker, and this is like, why are people throwing up on 3rd Avenue?
Why
This
would
is not what I
I
wanted.
would toast and cheers him with a nice club soda with a lime
There you
because
go.
they're green.
All right, Juan.
Who was the guy in My Three Sons? Who was that?
Fred McMurray?
Yeah, maybe I'd have a drink with him.
That
I like
is
that
the
guy.
strangest.
Well, how about City and Muldoon, Car 54, right?
You're picking some unusual people.
Well, you never know. How about Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan? They started that Irish
Yeah.
lunch in D.C.
I was thinking
true.
about them.
Oh, good.
Yeah, but I took St. Patrick.
Would it be? No, maybe a philosopher. Do I have to speak the language? Would it help?
You could have a translator. Yes.
Aristotle, Plato,
One of those guys.
Yeah,
Good
some
one.
really, really brilliant and foresee.
Yeah, that would be a good one. That would be a good one.
Dana?
You know who came to mind?
Who?
Mary Lou Retton. But I really admire her, and
Can you dig in
I
to
love
find
her.
out why Mary Lou Retton came to mind?
You're taller than her.
No, well, I was thinking like who I admire, and I was thinking like I would like to. I don't know. I like her.
Yeah,
I don't know
she's
why
nice.
she's on my mind.
I don't know.
She got the perfect 10 in
That's
the
so
Olympics.
interesting.
It's weird how people's things, then that's in your brain for a reason.
Like, I really want to meet her.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's very strange. I'm going to say Sigmund Freud. Yes, I have a lot of
Oh,
questions.
God. He would have a lot of answers.
And I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure he has the answers. I think he'd go, that's more than a cigar, son. You're going to have to get out of here.
Oh, my gosh.
That's
you would,
true. Sometimes
you,
it's-
you would probably really mess with his head.
pull his
You would
hair
not
out.
Like it. Yeah.
All right, one
Is
more
that it?
thing. I think so. Is up next.
Green Acres is the place to be. Farmville is the life.
It's time now for one more thing.
Kimberly, call yourself.
Anyway, I can never get enough of these, honoring heroes. And this is a great story. All right. Hello. Here's a video of U.S. Air Force Major John Salati surprising his son Owen in his first grade classroom yesterday after returning from deployment in Kuwait. So they secretly gathered at Arrowhead Elementary School in Pennsylvania, where his class was awaiting a mystery reader. And then lo and behold, he introduced the reader, as you see there. It was incredible. Big smile on his face, greeting his son.